thanks for taking the time. I've been, when I was growing up, I was a big fan of the Thunderbirds. So I wanted to live on Tracy Island one day. So I had this whole giant fantasy about how I would pilot Thunderbird number 3. And when Plastic Beach came out, I thought somebody's reinvented the Thunderbirds.
First person to even spot that, even mention that.
No, you've got to be kidding. Seriously.
No, it's exactly what it's sort of loosely based on, but no one has even made that comparison.
Wow. Okay. Well, and then there's the whole idea of that mid-Pacific garbage spiral that is apparently out there, and you mated the two, and I think it's a fascinating concept. I mean, you don't want to cross a lot of original. What's the word I'm looking for? There's a whole mythology built up around the band and the album. There's there's always been a mythology around the band, but it's gotten even deeper and even bigger with this concept with the Plastic Beach.
I think. If we've had a weakness this time round, is that something with that kind of depth is not very programmable. But apart from that, apart from just blatantly not fitting into radio programming at the moment worldwide, I think what we're doing is something that, for the people who come and see us, they get it completely.
Now, 10 years ago, everybody was behind a screen, and we had animation out front, and the animation was the star of the show. Now, you guys are in sailor suits, in full spotlights of everybody.
Not really sailor suits, more kind of sort of on a submarine,
Okay. Yeah, sailor suit sounds a bit...
Yeah, we're not really in sailor suit. I mean, this is what I wear.
Okay.
You wouldn't call it a sailor suit.
Bit village people.
Okay, a bit somewhat of a nautical theme then.
There is a very strong nautical theme to the whole record. It's all based in that sort of metaphysical.
And everything's there for you to see now. I mean, over the years, the other concerts we've done, we've tried and we've experimented with ideas that, and the Demon Day stuff I thought really worked. But this time around, we thought, well, there are so many wonderful parts of Gorillaz to show the whole lot. So giant screen, and everyone is there to be seen.
It's almost like, for some people, it's almost like when Kiss took off the makeup. I don't mean that in any insulting way. It's just like, here's
and then everyone said, for God's sake, put it back on. And
Well,
I saw Gene Simmons' face, for real.
Yeah, I've spent some time with Gene, and so it's interesting to see you guys out in the spotlight again, and it's unfortunate that you couldn't bring everybody who's on the record on the road with you.
We've got pretty much. We've got a lot of them. We're only.
Well, you're missing Sean's not there. Sean Ryder.
Sean Ryder, yeah. Sean Ryder can't come to America
For a lot of really good legal reasons.
Marquis Smith
Probably won't come to America.
he won't come to America. Lou Reed was in Madison Square Gardens. Snoop is West Coast, but he'll be in the West Coast. And Mose is doing a play at Lincoln Center, so he's only been able to do things that are very close to New York. But apart from that, we've got absolutely everybody.
How big is the crew? How many people are actually on stage?
8 buses. 8 buses and 50 band members.
How many?
50.
Wow. That's huge. It's expensive.
Ridiculously expensive.
And this is really...
Especially in this day and age where everybody's struggling, it's a financial suicide.
So why are you doing
I've
it?
been committing financial suicide for the last 10 years and I'm still here, so...
Well, but the band has hardly been anything but financial suicide. I mean, you've sold tens of millions of records. I mean, it's been good.
It's an expensive thing to pull off. So
But we really needed that money to even contemplate doing what we've done. It's not, we're not in it for the money. I mean, really, that'd be just ridiculous to think that we were.
Well, that could explain why this is this really truly the first world tour? It is, isn't it? Since '97, right?
we did the Harlem stuff for Demon Days, and we did a very short tour for the first album, didn't we?
We did about 8 dates, didn't we? Something like that. So 8 plus 14. Yeah, in 10 years we did about 15 gigs, 15, 16 gigs.
And that was one of the things we discussed when we started Plastic Beach, or when we decided we were going to do a third album. We said we have to make sure this time around we can take it on tour, which means, you know, having a band and no more smoke and mirrors, but just
Well,
this
it's
is
also what a band, you know. It's got 2 members of the Clash in it, and almost a conveyor belt of extraordinary people who are in their own space, of more than able of holding their own, you know. So it would be insane to cover that up.
Yeah, I guess it would.
Yeah, well, no one would
Maybe
believe
it
you,
would
but
be-
no one would actually believe you. If they couldn't physically see them, they wouldn't believe that they would be that you'd have, and it'd be pointless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it would be like watching you on TV.
Exactly.
When all this effort and work and art went into it, you know, why hide it?
Yeah.
I was talking to the guys from Massive Attack, and they're more or less, I guess, along the same way of thinking these days. Is that, you know, they want to use as many guest people as they possibly can, and where possible, you know, bring them on the road with them.
Yeah.
By the way, I think your contribution to the Massive Attack album it's my favorite track on the album. I think it's a terrific thing. The song called Donkomatic just popped out of nowhere. First of all, explain what Donkomatic is, and let's talk about Daly.
Well, 3 reasons for that. One, Dale is an amazing young talent from Manchester who is very lucky to sort of work with, really, before anyone's heard anything. But he's got one of those kind of once a generation sort of crazy white voices that sound like they're very black, you know, and it occasionally happens. And it's always interesting to see how they develop, because it's such a sort of to be naturally sound like that is quite, you know, he hasn't had any training or any real sort of background which would explain how he's come to possess such a voice, and he's not a big guy either, so that's exciting. And secondly, Donkomatic is was the first kind of I don't know, domestic electronic drum machine produced by Korg in 1963. It was really a design classic.
I would have gone back to those old console organs.
But this would stand on its. It was a drum machine on its own. It wasn't built into.
Okay.
And it only had a very small little keyboard of about just over an octave, but you could play the like the hi-hat or the cymbal or the clav.
Operated by tape?
No, I think it was. I've only listened to one on. I haven't actually seen one. I mean, I don't think there are many. I think they're very, very rare. And I've always been a big Korg. Korg makes some really great electronic instruments. And I just happened to find a bit of footage of the founder of Korg saying Donkomatic. So I thought I'd make a tune.
What
Inspired me to make it.
who else would you like to work
I
with?
just wanted to get back on the radio again.
It always comes back to that. We've already played it, so we're happy with it. Who else would you like to work with? I mean, you said you have 2 guys from the Clash in your band. I mean, that's okay. Where do you go from there?
I don't really have a game plan, to be honest with you. I don't like write the stuff with people in mind. I mean, Paul's involvement comes back really from being in another band, you know.
I'm going to ask you about the Good, Bad, and the Queen. Is there ever going to be anything more from this?
I don't know, maybe. There was a kind of very particular series of kind of circumstances that put everyone in the right place. I don't know.
One of the things that you mentioned to somebody recently was that if anybody from Glee came and asked if they could use your music in the TV show,
You're most definitely not going to now.
well, I think Glee is the most execrable piece of television programming in the world right now.
Yeah.
So when I read that you would refuse,
Yeah.
I did want these in the air.
Yeah. Well, I don't like the way the like proper mainstream music is being kind of moulded and sculpted by TV producers all around the world now. I mean, it's like it's insane, and it's offering this sort of illusion of I don't know. It's really, all I can see in the future is a kind of empty, pasteurized void.
That's certainly what the show is. So, thank you for not being preemptive about the whole thing. How much longer does this tour go on?
Till we finish up just before Christmas.
And then what?
Next year.
Yeah.
We're doing an opera.
Yeah.
And what opera is that?
About the 16th century mystic Dr. John Dee.
Okay. Is this in the line with the opera that you did before? Is this a completely new project, or is it
Completely different, yeah.
All right. So, and you guys are working together on this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What about?
Basically something completely different to all of this.
It's nice to have that luxury, isn't it, to be able
Well, it's necessary, otherwise you go completely mad. I wouldn't.
to. What about the rumors about music for the 2010 or 2012 Olympics?
I got asked to help create the opening spectacle, but I declined it.
You declined.
Yes.
Why? I'm just curious.
It's a nightmare. You imagine that. I mean, you know, I hope it's a wonderful event, and I'm sure it will be. But I'm not qualified to do anything like that.
We did something for the Beijing Olympics, with the BBC. So we sort of already.
It's really not my bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's a worldwide spectacle.
Yeah,
It's
but
a-
so what?
No.
I don't care about that. Especially not today. A wet day, Toronto.
Well, I appreciate the time, and I'm
Pleasure.
looking forward to the show, and I can't wait. I'm sorry, the crack about the sailor suits, that was wrong. The,
Okay.
It's
I
all
thought we
officer and a
recovered quite
gentleman.
And again, you know, you're helping me fulfill my, Tracy Allen Thunderbird fantasies a little bit
Great.
with what you're doing. All right, thanks, guys.
Nice.
Thank you.
Explore Music wears English Laundry apparel.